Good day. This is Al Kluis, joined with Bob Linneman with your Soy Market Watch, and we're doing this special report on Monday, July 21st. So we've had some exciting times in the soybean and corn markets lately, and we're going to dig in and tell you everything we know about it in the next 13 minutes, right, Bob?
That's right, Al.
Okay. We are required in our industry, we're both Series 3 commodity brokers, to always do a standard risk disclosure statement. The key thing that I want to highlight is the things that I've outlined in red, that in trading futures and options, you can lose money. It's always my job to tell you that we're in the business of risk management, but that does happen when you get on the wrong side of the market. Then it also important, the bottom sentence in the last paragraph, opinions expressed herein opinions of the author only, not the opinion of any firm might be affiliated or associated with. So this is from Team Kluis, and certainly Bob has put a lot of work into this PowerPoint today and is a valued member of that team. So we're going to look at what's happened last week, what's happened over the last 30 days. It's been about a month. Some of the main factors to watch. I always like to look at my charts, and then we're going to talk about our free seminars coming up in Emmitsburg and Dubuque. Also, for some of you, Northwest Iowa will be in Sioux Falls. So what happened last week? Challenging weather in Southern Plains, Western Corn Belt. And so that has gave us a pretty decent rally in both corn and soybeans on Friday. There was also some optimism about some new trade agreements being announced, but no trade agreements were announced. And now we saw a beautiful rain go through northern Illinois, eastern Iowa, Indiana had 1 to 3 inches. So where we had looked at the weekly drought monitor, some areas that were yellow, a little bit brown, they got pretty much healed up. Crop ratings are very high for this time of year, 74% good to excellent on corn, 70% on soybeans, I believe. So we're staying very high, and we're seeing just excellent yield potential develop. Can the national yields hit the record target suggested by USDA? I was skeptical a while ago, but Bob, I'm seeing reports now of what, 53, 54 bushel beans and 185 bushel corn.
Yeah, they're throwing some big numbers out there, and it's for soybeans, it's a little tough because August, we'll talk about this, but August is when you make beans. So, but corn pollination, there were a few, photos floating around the internet about some pollination issues. And, I think the small areas that had those issues, you're going to make a lot of noise, I guess, Al, might be a good way to say that. But I think for the most part, the crop is getting through that pollination window with a lot of moisture. A little bit of heat isn't gonna, cause too much damage, but it's nothing like what we've seen in the past as far as, a heat dome setting up for a couple weeks at a time.
Very unusual this time of year. Every Thursday, look at the U.S. drought monitor, and the area covered in the Corn Belt is now down to about 10 or 12%. That's some of the lowest levels we've seen since 2016. So if we look at what's happened over the last 30 days, soybeans are down about 32 cents, but right now we're about 39 cents off the low made just a week ago. December corn is down 16 cents, very unusual. We put a high in February. We spiked lower last Monday, had a big reversal up, and then we had a little weather concern, got the nice rally into Friday. Wheat market continues to be a drag on corn, down 44 cents over the last month, and moving lower, again testing contract lows. What are we really watching for this week? Trade talks. This is kind of like a worn out record, but August 1 is approaching. And unfortunately, right now, I think the European Union is just proposing not to make a deal with us, but which products are they going to put tariffs on, including a lot of our ag exports. The models on the weather show 2 rounds of heat, both staying out of the central corn belt. And so they thought on Friday some of the models, early GFS, would take this hot air dome and bring it all the way up into cover Missouri, southern Illinois, all the way up to Des Moines, Iowa. But over the weekend, that whole dome migrated further south and further west. So it's going in Texas, Oklahoma, where it's not going to do any significant crop damage. We'll get the USDA crop progress report, and I think ratings basically be about steady with last week. But these ratings, when we always look at, not necessarily comparing it week to week, we always look at how is it versus last year and the long-term average. And again, every week we're seeing conditions that are slightly better than last year and above the long-term average. This is the dollar index. That should be supportive for exports long term. We were higher early today. Now we've turned back lower, but we're kind of stuck between 96 and 98. And certainly this is making our products cheap. Not only is the board of trade cheap, but the US dollar has been trending lower. And long term, this doesn't happen next week or next month. This will bring in more business. Soybeans, you put this chart together, Bob. What does it show you?
Yeah, I mean, you can see the high on the top side, kind of that double top there that we had in that 1070, call it 1075. It was 1074 to 1076. And then the green line is support that we got real close to last week, Al. We briefly dipped under $10. You can go back to that February, late February, early March timeframe there where, it was kind of that secondary, support level, let's call it now. Not the contract lows, down near that 970 level we saw in April, but bounced off $10, and last week we got within a penny of filling the gap. You can see the little circle there in the yellow. We need to fill that gap just to technically to avoid kind of that idea of coming back and visiting that level again. Whether we just barely touch it and fill it and then back off, or we go flying through it to the upside out.
Yeah, we'll have to wait. Great chart work. This is the longer term, and this is very often as I see a market bottom, I always describe it as putting in a series of M's or W's, and that's certainly what we're seeing right here. And this yellow bar, Bob, great job on that $1 window over the past year. The corn market, we couldn't quite get in the gap, but tell me what you think of this corn chart.
Yeah, the corn chart. I mean, we dipped down there underneath 410, but bounced quickly off of that last week, and to get back to where we did, almost 430, didn't quite fill the gap like Al mentioned there. Still a target to the upside, but now you can see the red line, which was support, is now becoming resistance. So that is really the key to the key here. I think is to get above that. Maybe we build a base around it for a week or so, this 425 area, 430, and then really trying to get back above 440. Al probably is the big target at the moment for Discorn.
Yeah, chart 1 week red, 1 week black, and all of these red Fridays have been sales over the last 9 weeks, and I think 8 out of the last 9 Mondays, we've also seen corn prices move lower. This is the longer term chart, and wow, you talk about an extended base. This has been kind of locked in here between 510 on the top side, and as low as 364 last year, but we're getting kind of to the bottom end of this. So when I look at the current weather, lack of any trade agreements, I can't get bullish, but I would really caution you against getting bearish at the current time. How did we do last week? Last week we had a nickel rally in corn, and we saw soybeans trade 24 cents higher. I think November, Friday to Friday was up 28, and the wheat market, especially Minneapolis wheat, ideal conditions there, keeping pressure on. U.S. dollar index down at 98, and look at where that is versus last year. So what are we in? I think we're in a very much a trading channel. Support at 407 to 390, resistance up at 442 to 450. Beans, a little bit wider trading range. We've had those lows down at 998 and 971. We tried to fill that gap that you indicated, Bob, up at 1074. We also have resistance at 1058. The prospects time period to watch, next 10 days, watch as pollination wraps up. They're talking about an area in the southern part of the U.S. It's about 25 or 30% of the Corn Belt, getting up to 95 to 100 degrees starting on about July 23rd, and then also another heat wave hitting about the first couple of days of August. Soybeans are made in August, and so we're really just watching to see what the weather is. Certainly, all of the weather models now are saying it's going to be pretty hot in August, different than what we've had in June, July. This has been a very benign, mild, non-threatening weather forecast. Beans are made in August, and everybody has these really big crop assumptions, but Bob, it's not in the bin yet.
It's not in the bin yet, Alan. We just don't have much wiggle room in that soybean balance sheet. The carryover, a 1 bushel an acre adjustment from the current USA target really makes a different playing field for soybeans, Al. It really does. So.
Absolutely. Now we do get out. Now we love doing these videos and Zoom over the internet, but I like seeing people in person. We have a free live in-person seminar in Emmitsburg, Iowa on July 30th at the Wild Rose Casino. So come on in, bring some neighbors and friends. Tuesday, August 12th, 3 p.m., Dubuque, Iowa. So we're kind of going kitty corner across Iowa. In addition to that, some of you in Northwest Iowa might want to, if you're going to the field days at Baltic, South Dakota on Thursday, July 31st, stop in at the Ramkota. That one starts at 6 p.m. All of these are designed. We have about an hour and a half program followed by a social hour, hors d'oeuvres, and soft drinks. So if you have this time in your schedule, this is also on our website, kluiscommodities.com. We'd love to see you face to face and answer your questions. What's the big things we're going to be talking about? I think how low can prices go? I've got some pretty specific ideas. What can turn prices around? And what's the timing for a change of trend? This is, I think, a very timely, a good time to be having these meetings. I've been working on the PowerPoint for the last few weeks, even though they're 2 weeks out. We're going to do our best to make sure we have a great program for you. That's the agenda. I'm here in Wayzata, Minnesota. Bob's working with me today. Give us a call if you have any questions, 888-345-2855, or you can email me, my direct email, alankleis@wedbush.com. And again, thanks to the Soybean Association. We enjoy working with you. If you like these programs, let the staff and directors at ISA know. Have a good week.